I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I've kind of lost track myself. But Ian, this is a .44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and would blow your head clean off. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk? We're not just gonna let you walk out of here.
Who's we, sucker?
Smith, Wesson, and me.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Now you know why they call me Dirty Harry. Every dirty job that comes along.
He's the archetype of the modern movie cop. He plays by the rules until the rules don't work anymore. And then he plays by his own. One man, one gun. There's not an action hero working in the movies today who isn't in some way a version of that man who walked into our cinematic world in the fall of 1971. Inspector Harry Callahan, Dirty Harry. And this is his city, San Francisco, California. As much a character in these films as Monument Valley was in a John Ford Western. The city by the bay was portrayed as irresistible to society's underbelly. Bank robbers, terrorists, psychopaths, all on a day's work for Inspector Callahan.
I was born in San Francisco and raised in the Bay Area most of my life, so I've always had an affinity for this particular area, especially for locations. However, I must confess that Don Siegel and I were on our way to Seattle to look at that as a place for Dirty Harry because it hadn't been photographed too much at that particular time. And San Francisco had a lot of films in the 60s and early 70s, but we came through here and took a look around, and it was hard to go past San Francisco.
And the idea was that Dirty Harry was supposed to be an outsider, that he was supposed to be a loner, you know, that didn't really have any relationships with women other than hookers or something like that. He lived alone. He had lousy food in his icebox, a couple of beers, you know. He had no life except the hunt. And that was enough because he was a hunter. That's why he carried a .44 Magnum, because it was a gun that was developed for hunting. And I remember in the first draft of the script, he says, "You really want to go hunting? Get your badge." Oh!
I think that Dirty Harry was a very violent movie, but it was a cool character. And I think the reason why people admired the character so much was because he was not operating within a framework of the law, as so to speak, but he was stepping kind of out and taking things a little bit into his own hands. And I think that's what people admire a lot of times. They like to see movies and idolize people that can do that because they themselves, people in general in America and worldwide, feel powerless. So they all of a sudden they see a guy that all of a sudden takes the law into his own hands and takes care of the job in a very cool way. Not in a traditional way, you know, hold up your arms, you are under arrest. No, he was eating a hamburger. He was eating a hamburger. He just happened to get a glimpse of some crime that is being committed out there. But it was like, not like making a call and get the authority and getting another police car and all this. No, he just went out there eating his hamburger and blasting the criminal away.
In the 70s, Dirty Harry tapped in on a lot of feelings because at that time there wasn't much thought of the victims of violent crime. It was mostly, most of the news, media, and everything was obsessed with the rights of the accused, as they should be. But there was also an underlying thing within society out there in general that felt that maybe there was so much accent put on the rights of the accused that they weren't taking care of the rights of the victim.
Well, what's interesting in the Dirty Harry dilemma, that Dirty Harry goes beyond the law to solve, is that we know right from wrong. So we're not talking, I mean, it's like somebody once said that lawyers do not practice justice, they practice law.
You're lucky I'm not indicting you for assault with intent to commit murder.
What?
Where the hell does it say you've got a right to kick down doors, torture suspects, deny medical attention and legal counsel? Where have you been?
Whereas Dirty Harry is practicing justice.
Are you trying to tell me that ballistics can't match the bullet up to this rifle?
It does not matter what ballistics can do. This rifle might make a nice souvenir, but it's inadmissible as evidence.
And who says that?
It's the law.
Well, then the law is crazy.
I suppose I could pseudo-intellectualize and dig up some real deep meaning behind everything we did, but the depth wasn't beyond the man's frustration, and there was some frustration with legal decisions that would let a person off and let him back out on the street, even though he was considered extremely dangerous.
Clint Eastwood was already an established film star in 1971. Still, Dirty Harry was a career shift for him. He was moving from the Western to the purely urban cop.
And there was a wonderful sense in the movie of potency, because movies had already digressed to where a lot of shots were fired. You know, people shot machine guns at each other or automatic pistols. Today, it takes a lot of shots to put a bad guy down, you know. What was nice about the .44 Magnum was it was one shot, and that was all that was necessary.
Well, there was a lot of violence in the film, but not violence by the standards they're using today. There was some feeling at that time that there was some great political statement in Dirty Harry, and that just was kind of nonsense.
I got those warrants for a search of the premises, Callahan, not for you to become judge, jury, and executioner. It was supposed to be a simple arrest.
We were just trying to make a good detective story. We didn't care too much about all that other stuff.
These weren't fairy tales. They were depictions of gritty, ugly reality. Politically incorrect or not, there's a class of criminal that's not to be reasoned with. These criminals have no rules, no boundaries, and the only way to deal with them was on those terms. Harry Callahan understood that, and so did the movie-going public. In truth, Harry spoke to a rising anger out there, and he didn't use a lot of words. He let his .44 Magnum do his talking for him, and for us.
Stop! Don't do anything more! I'm hurt! Can't you see?
It was weird for me to be in that film. I knew nothing about films or filmmaking. And when they sent me the script for Dirty Harry, I didn't even know how to read a film script. I read it, and I didn't like it. And I didn't like it because I just didn't get it. I didn't get how the story was being told. It was very different from reading a play. And I didn't get the character, and the character, of course, was described very differently. He was like this balding guy in a T-shirt with a paunch who hangs around in bus stations. So I didn't have a vision for it. I just sort of like had this idea that this was a very nasty human being. I mean, how do you play someone who's as evil and who is as murderous and as violent and as demented as that? I have no idea why they hired me. I once asked Siegel, why did you hire me for this role? And he said, because I wanted somebody who had the face of a choir boy. Which I guess I did in those days. So when I got to San Francisco, I said to Don, I said, you know, I can only do what I can do because I'm not that guy on the page. And John said, I didn't hire the guy on the page, I hired you.
Oh, and Sid. Relax. Take it easy. It's gonna be all right.
So I walked into Dirty Harry playing this basically deranged Vietnam veteran. And the violence of the film and the character I playing being the perpetrator of the violence of the film, it was tough for me, but I'm also an actor. And basically what happened was a collaboration began, and it opened my eyes to what filmmaking was about. And it was probably the most important and the most complete collaboration I've ever had as an actor in film.
Drop the gun, please! I'll blow his brains out! Drop the fucking gun! Huh?
There's a moment in the film where he holds the gun on the Scorpio Killer and he says, I know what you're thinking. Did I fire 5 or 6? The famous line. The famous line. If I had a buck for every guy, and it's always a guy, by the way, all over the world who's come up to me and quoted that line in its entirety to me, I gotta tell you, I'd be a rich man now.
Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Was really unique because to come up and have sort of a playful interaction with somebody you've just shot, and he sort of torments him, was something that hadn't been done too much in film.
I know what you're thinking, punk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Now, to tell you the truth, I forgot myself in all this excitement. But being this is a .44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and will blow your head clean off, you've got to ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Reprising it at the end, he'd become more bitter. But it was like his running routine. He still knew all the words to it, but his attitude was totally different because he was, at that time, very disenchanted with the way things had gone.
What is it about Dirty Harry that still rings fresh and contemporary after 30 years? Well, like any lasting character in film or literature, Harry Callahan is a product of his time. But if we truly hope to understand him, we have to understand this country in the early 70s. Vietnam, Watergate, political assassinations, and the emergence of a new class of criminal, a violent psychopath. Suddenly, the good guys weren't winning anymore, and the feeling was, somehow, somewhere, we'd lost control.
Move it! Sit down.
You really are a dirty bastard.
The dirtiest. Man's got to know his limitations.
In the world of Harry Callahan, the courts and the system weren't part of the solution. They were part of the problem. Corrupt, impotent, more concerned, it seemed, with protecting the criminal than the innocent. The rage, the righteous indignation of Harry Callahan was our rage. If the politicians and bureaucrats were more interested in the law, Harry Callahan was interested in justice.
Callahan.
Sir?
I don't want any more trouble like you had last year in the Fillmore district. Understand? That's my policy.
Yeah, well, when an adult male is chasing a female with intent to commit rape, I shoot the bastard. That's my policy.
Intent? How did you establish that?
Well, a naked man is chasing a woman through an alley with a butcher knife and a heart on. I figure he isn't out collecting for the Red Cross.
I think he's got a point.
On Dirty Harry, the first one, and he got hit very hard for Dirty Harry being a vigilante. And the second one, he tried to soften that image a lot by this time going after the people who are doing very dangerous things.
You heroes have killed a dozen people this week. What are you gonna do next week?
Kill a dozen more?
Is that what you guys are all about? Being heroes?
All our heroes are dead. It's not just a question of whether or not to use violence. There simply is no other way, Inspector. You, of all people, should understand that. Either you're for us or you're against us.
I'm afraid you've misjudged me.
Yours truly was lucky enough to be in the second Dirty Harry movie, Magnum Force. I played one of San Francisco's not-so-finest, along with Tim Matheson, David Soul, Kip Niven. And in this scene, we challenged Clint to join us vigilantes who are going to rid San Francisco of all the bad guys. So we pull out of the shot, and what you don't see is as we go around the corner, we all crashed our motorcycles. There was just a big heap of cops and motorcycles. Clint stayed in character until we exited, and then when they cut the camera, he said, "I'd just been threatened by the Keystone Cops." But he stayed in composure, a pro's pro.
Well, Clint would give very specific instructions, and he would say, "You got too many words here. I don't say words real good. I stare real well." And I mean, Clint's great. Clint, there's no nonsense. There's no pretension.
You just killed 3 police officers, Harry.
And the only reason I'm not gonna kill you is because I'm gonna prosecute you with your own system. It'll be my word against yours. And who's gonna believe you? You're a killer, Harry. A maniac.
It was interesting to watch him because he was so quietly meticulous and he just thought things out so, you know. I remember when we did that scene in the car. Frightening. I think it was shot on a Sunday. We're up in San Francisco, you know, with those hills. Clint got in the car and did the driving. I thought, well, you know, he won't go too fast. He's not a stunt driver, you know. Well, man alive, I was scared out of my wits because when we started down that thing back and forth, he was roaring down that thing. And I thought, good grief, if anybody steps out in front of us, they're a goner, you know. He really handled the car well. I think he got a big kick out of he knew he was scaring the living lights out of me, you know. I think he got a big kick out of that.
That scene in the elevator was very much me and Clint with Uzis filled with marbles being shot. And when those marbles came bashing in to that elevator, I was genuinely, seriously frightened. And Clint knew it, but it was great for the scene because he truly, truly had to comfort me. I mean, I was freaking out a little bit because it was deafening. It was really frightening, and he really threw me down. I mean, we really just boom onto that floor of that elevator. But it's not so bad to have, you know, Clint Eastwood falling on top of you in an elevator. So.
When I got Magnum Force, what we did do a little bit was to try to make him a little more human, that he gets involved with another side, another aspect of his life, which is the feminine side, getting to meet somebody who was, you know, who could in some ways suggest that he wasn't all cop, that there was another human side to him.
Hi. Oh, hi. What's your name?
Sunny. You know, I've been living here almost 6 months now. It's funny, I've never met you before.
Oh, well, I work a lot.
I know. You're the cop who lives upstairs.
That's right.
Mind if I ask you a question?
Oh, go ahead.
What does a girl have to do to go to bed with you?
Try knocking on the door?
There was definitely a romantic tension between my character and Dirty Harry in the film, and it was a slight departure.
Let me ask you something, Miss Walker.
Sam.
Sam? Do you like cops?
As long as they're not in my rearview mirror, why?
Well, I just wondered what we're supposed to be talking about here, other than the damage to the camera.
Oh, no, I'm willing to let the insurance company deal with that. And I think I can be persuaded to drop the lawsuit, but I want something in return. Oh. I mean, but it was very much in the script that they clearly had a shine for one another, and that they made each other, you know, it was that kind of, you know, love-hate situation that,
But it isn't easy.
you know, clearly turns to
Big city, big news.
something sexy.
Had to prove myself all over again.
Have you succeeded?
Somewhat. But apparently not with you. I guess I shouldn't complain. At least you stayed for dinner this time.
Well, I think the romance of Dirty Harry was not in having a love affair or a great romance with a female along the way. I think the romance was the fact that he would exert himself to this degree and for somebody he didn't even know.
Yeah. Harry, this is Briggs. Are you alone?
No, as a matter of fact, I'm entertaining a young lady friend.
Well, put your pants back on, Callahan, and come down to the city morgue as fast as you can.
There was just no time for that. Usually there was a case going on, and so there wasn't time for romance.
It's all yours now. All right, get this thing up.
Where to?
You get us up. I'll tell you where to when we're up.
You want to put us in takeoff position? Huh?
Can you fly?
Nope. Never had a lesson.
The similarities, though unintended, were striking. Many film critics called these films urban westerns, and Harry a western hero. In fact, he wasn't that far removed from Gary Cooper in High Noon, or The Man with No Name. We know very little about his past, just the present. And instead of a lone cowboy drifting in off the plains of the 19th century American West, And a lone detective taming the streets of 20th century San Francisco much the same way. One man and one very large gun. The .44 Magnum, practically a character itself.
Come on, you guys, hurry up!
You forgot your fortune cookie.
What?
It says you're shit out of luck.
Clint Eastwood as Dirty Harry had a tremendous impact on a whole generation of action films that came after that. I think if you'll look at things like Die Hard and the success that Die Hard was, and a lot of the way that Bruce Willis approached his character, I think even to some extent, a lot of the things that Schwarzenegger did later on, you can see clearly that they were all generational prototypes of Dirty Harry. I think it had a tremendous impact on cop films that came after that.
When I saw Dirty Harry, and I remember I went to see it not only once, but I saw it 5 times in a row because it had such a tremendous impact on me. And it was like, not only on me, but also on a lot of other people, obviously, because it became like the action movie, a new standard of action movies.
Out at the mayor, goddammit!
I think that we've heard all this "Make My Day" and "Do You Feel Lucky," "Punk," and all of those kind of things we have seen now millions of times over, not only in America but worldwide. So I think that Clint Eastwood there created something that was unlike anything else.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Yeah, I think it influenced a lot of people at that time. A lot of people tried other detective stories, lone wolf kind of cop things, but and some of them worked, some of them didn't.
The character of Harry Callahan, I think, has spawned a lot of wannabes, a lot of imitations.
I did a film with Ringo Starr, and being with Ringo, you're very much with a pop icon. But in doing the film with Clint, I can't say that Clint is any less than that as Dirty Harry.
It was fun for a while, and people still now, once in a while, people say, "Wait, why don't you do another Dirty Harry?" But wait a second now, he's a different guy, and what would I be doing? Would I be out there fly fishing or something like that? And then some case comes along, he's retired from the force, of course, long retired, and yet in some instance, I guess that could be feasible, but I don't see it, and I've never had a writer come up with an idea that was at least a bit provocative, and sometimes it's best to leave a good thing alone.
You're shit out of luck.
The fact is, there is no Riggs in Lethal Weapon, no John McClane in Die Hard, no Passenger 57, not even Rambo, not as we know them, without Dirty Harry Callahan. One man, one gun, one clear vision of right and wrong, and the willingness to do whatever is necessary to see that justice is done. Could Dirty Harry exist in a free society? Not really. But there's a side in all of us that hopes that if we ever got in trouble out there, our backs against the wall, it would be Inspector Harry Callahan that answers the call.